The narrative unfolds at an airport where a story begins with a young boy named Bao, who, concerned about his mother's appearance, tells her that she doesn't seem well. She reassures him that they will soon meet his uncle. As she trembles, she recalls a dreadful dream about a terrible night she had while on the plane. In the midst of this, a car arrives, and Bao, mistaking it for his uncle's, excitedly points it out to his mother. He rushes towards the car, but his mother calls out for him to wait. Inside the car, a handsome man with blue eyes is on the phone, discussing a case and mentioning that the board meeting will be delayed. He instructs his driver to head back to the firm, to which the driver agrees. However, before they depart, Bao climbs into the car, taking the man by surprise. The driver, puzzled, comments that Mr. Lee is the only son in the Lee family and wonders where this nephew has come from. Bao, upon seeing the man, surprises himself and inquires about his uncle's whereabouts. The driver informs him that he is in the wrong car and asks him to get out. Bao, now nervous, realizes his mistake and apologizes for the intrusion. The man dismisses the apology, and upon reflection he thinks that Bao must come from a well-educated family due to his calm and polite demeanor. Bao complimented the man on his appearance and asked if he had a girlfriend, suggesting that his mother was very attractive and that any man who would be her boyfriend would make other men envious. He then inquired if the man was interested. The driver, upon hearing Bao's words, thought to himself in surprise, wondering if Bao was trying to play matchmaker. Bao then exited the car and handed over his name card, which had his mother's photo attached, and told the man to call him if he was interested in her. After Bao left, Mr. Lei looked at the card and noticed a peculiar drawing of Bao's mother. Bao returned to his mother, who scolded him for getting into a car without confirming if it was his uncle's. She warned him not to do it again. Bao apologized, saying he missed his uncle too much. Mr. Lee instructed his driver to leave. Bao's mother, hearing Mr. Lee's voice, thought it sounded familiar and wondered why the person they were waiting for hadn't arrived yet. At that moment, their uncle arrived, calling out to them. Bao, overjoyed, greeted his uncle, who lifted him up and asked if he missed him. Bao affirmed that he did. They then got into the uncle's car. Bao mentioned to his uncle that he had just seen a handsome man who could be his new daddy. His uncle asked if the man was more handsome than him, and Bao replied that he was as handsome as his uncle. Bao then asked his mother about his father, who was supposedly in her homeland, and whether he could see him. His mother bluntly stated that his father was dead and internally questioned why Bao would want to see him, referring to him as an animal. Bao innocently asked if he could have a new daddy, to which his mother asked if he didn't like her. Bao explained that with a new daddy, two men would be there to protect her. His mother assured him that she only needed him. Bao thought to himself that since his mother did not want to find a new daddy, he would do her the favor. He had sent out many name cards and hoped to receive at least one call. Meanwhile, Mr. Lee reflected on Bao, noting that the child's eyes resembled the woman's and were very luminous. In the next scene, Bao and his mother arrive at Lin Zhi's residence. Uncle Shen tells them that they can live there, and he has found a suitable school for Bao. Bao's mother, named Zhi, thanks Lin Shen. Shen asks her not to be too polite in front of him and mentions he has something to do, so he must go. 2 days later, she reflects on the need to earn money as Bao is growing up. She is fortunate to have secured a job through an agent company. Despite being an unimportant supporting role in the film, she is content to have lines. In the midst of her thoughts, a lady tells Lin Zhi that it's time to work. At that moment, Shen calls, and she answers to hear Shen informing her that Bao is missing. Shocked by the news, Zhi drops the phone. She tells Mr. Hua that she has an emergency and must leave for a while. As she is about to leave, a girl standing next to Mr. Hua questions him about his choice of actresses, implying that she is irresponsible. Mr. Hua confronts Zhi, questioning if she still wants her job. After overhearing the conversation, Zhi insists that she has an emergency and must leave. Mr. Hua angrily tells her that if she leaves, she should not return, and that she will have no future in show business. Zhi apologizes to Mr. Hua and quits the film. Zhi got into her car and was heading home when she received a phone call. The person on the other end asked, "Hello, are you Bao's mom?" To which she replied affirmatively, asking who the caller was and where her child was. The caller turned out to be Mr. Lee, who informed her that her son had gotten into the wrong car and was now at his firm, urging her to come and pick him up. Sitting in front of Mr. Lee, Bao was calmly sucking on a lollipop and asked Mr. Lee if he was sure he wasn't interested in his mom. Mr. Lee, a bit exasperated, confirmed that it was indeed the 19th time Bao had asked him that question. Bao expressed his disappointment at the response. Near the door, 2 ladies were standing, and one of them wondered if Bao was Mr. Lee's son, to which the other lady dismissed the idea, pointing out that Mr. Lee was unmarried. Just then, Ji arrived, calling out for her son. Bao, seeing his mother, joyfully shouted, "Mommy!" She scolded him for getting into the wrong car again and expressed her concern. Bao explained that he was supposed to get into his uncle's car, but didn't realize it wasn't his uncle's until he was inside, and remarked on the coincidence of meeting the dashing uncle again. Zhi was taken aback by the situation. Approaching them, Mr. Li asked Zhi if she was Bao's mom. She extended her hand and introduced herself as Lin Zhi, thanking him for looking after her son. Mr. Li, without shaking her hand, simply told her to take care of her child. Bao, holding on to Mr. Li's suit from behind, suggested to his mother that since she often preached the importance of repaying those who helped them, they should invite the man who assisted him to lunch at their home. Zhi pondered over the idea of inviting him to dinner at home, questioning the implications of what Bao was suggesting. Bao assured Mr. Li that his mother was an excellent cook and that he would be impressed. The man, rendered speechless by the conversation, simply looked on. When Bao called out to him, Mr. Li placed a hand on his head and agreed to the proposal. Bao was delighted with the agreement and suggested they leave immediately. As Bao and Mr. Li started to move forward, she wondered to herself why they had reached a consensus without consulting her for advice. A lady then reminded Mr. Li of an afternoon meeting, while she thought to herself how unusual it was for the ascetic and cold Mr. Li to accept the child's invitation. Bao beckoned his mother to come inside, and she complied. As the three of them descended in the elevator, she was bewildered by the turn of events, questioning the appropriateness of bringing a stranger home and cooking for him. She resolved to have a serious talk with Bao after the man left. Once at home, as Zhi prepared the meal, Bao took the opportunity to introduce his mother to Mr. Li, proudly showing off the paper cranes she had made and praising her dexterity. Mr. Li inquired if Bao always promoted his mother in such a manner, to which Bao replied that he only did so for the right man, as an ordinary man wouldn't be a match for his fairy-like mother. Mr. Li, seating Bao on the sofa, was amused by the term fairy used for Zhi and then expressed a desire to have a look at the necklace. Bao showed the necklace to Mr. Li, asking if that was what he meant. Mr. Li thought to himself that it was the ring he had given her in the past, recognizing his name carved on the inside. He then asked Bao where he got the ring. Bao replied that his mother had given it to him, saying it was left by his father. Mr. Li was taken aback, wondering if Bao could be his son, and asked if she could or mentioned where Bao's father was. Bao, with tears in his eyes, said that his mother told him his father was dead. Mr. Li was shocked by this revelation, and Bao expressed his wish for his mother to find a new father for him so that no one would dare to bully her. Mr. Li asked Bao how he had been over the years, to which Bao replied that he was fine, but his mother was not, implying that she must have had a tough time. Bao then asked Mr. Li, after sharing so much with him, if he had decided to be his new father, noting that he is rarely enthusiastic about anyone. Just then, Mr. Li received a phone call and said that he would be back soon. Bao asked if he was leaving, and Mr. Li instructed Bao to tell his mother that he had to leave, giving Bao his number and telling him to call if necessary. Accepting the card, Bao agreed to Mr. Li's request. Mr. Li contemplated using the card to conduct a paternity test. After he left, Bao placed the card in his bag, thinking to himself that he had acquired another name card from a handsome man. Meanwhile, Zhi arrived with food and asked Bao where Mr. Li was. Bao informed her that Mr. Li had received a call and had to leave, playfully chiding his mother for being too slow. She invited him to come and eat. At the dining table, Bao lamented that his mother had wasted a good opportunity he had created. She sternly told Bao they needed to talk and warned him not to invite strangers into their home, questioning what they would do if the stranger turned out to be a bad person. Bao defended Mr. Li, claiming he didn't seem like a bad man because he was as handsome as Bao himself. She cautioned him not to judge a person by their appearance and threatened to send him abroad if he didn't behave. Bao, saddened, acknowledged his mistake and promised it wouldn't happen again. On the other side, a girl handed Mr. Li a report which confirmed that the child was indeed his natural son. Mr. Li reflected on the fact that she was the woman he had met 5 years ago and decided to bring them in. He thought to himself that after many years he had finally found her. Zhi, on the other hand, was worried about the criticism she might face for leaving abruptly the last time because Bao got lost. She told herself that she had to be tolerant for life. A girl with purple hair questioned Zhi's audacity, wondering why Zhi had more than her despite both being hired in the same year. She apologized to Mr. Hua for leaving suddenly and asked for another chance. Mr. Hua questioned whether Zhi saw the place as a charity organization, reminding her that he had told her not to come back. She promised it was the last time, but Mr. Hua pointed out that show business did not lack beautiful actresses and questioned her confidence. She'd argued that while there were many beautiful actresses, the industry lacked actresses with both beauty and excellent acting skills. Mr. Hua told Ji not to flatter herself, but internally acknowledged that Ji was indeed the best among the new actresses. The girl with purple hair suggested to Mr. Hua that they needed to stand in and propose, giving her a chance. She then thought to herself that she couldn't return the role she had taken from Lin Zhi. Mr. Hua asked if someone would like to be a stand-in, to which Ji eagerly agreed. The girl with purple hair reminded Lin Zhi that she had helped her get the opportunity and that she should be grateful. Should I question if the girl was kind enough or simply afraid that Ji might reclaim the role that rightfully belonged to her? The girl with purple hair warned Ji not to be too proud and assured her that she would not regret her words. Ji remained silent, deciding to wait and see. At that moment, bodyguards arrived, and one of them asked Lin Zhi to accompany them. Ji inquired about their identity and destination. The person assured her they meant no harm and that their boss wished to see her. Ji questioned who their boss was as she was escorted to the car. The bodyguards told her she would find out soon. Upon arriving at a magnificent palace, Ji was greeted by maids urging her to follow them. She was astonished by the number of maids and wondered who had requested her presence. When she saw Mr. Li, she recognized him as the man Bao had invited to her home previously. Bao appeared and explained that the impressive man had brought him there and given him many snacks. She asked Mr. Li why he had brought them there, mentioning she had already thanked him for his help. Mr. Li cryptically mentioned the rumor of Bao's father's death, prompting Ji to question his intentions. Mr. Li instructed the bodyguards to take Bao upstairs, and they complied. As the bodyguards were taking Bao upstairs, he called out for his mother, expressing his reluctance to leave her and his desire to protect her. At the same time, his mother Ji asked Mr. Li what he wanted and what he meant by his actions. Mr. Li told her to stop pretending and pointed out that Bao was his son. Ji, upon seeing something, thought to herself that the probability of paternity was 99%. Shocked, she questioned what she was seeing. Mr. Li explained that it was a paternity test report confirming that Bao was his son. She realized in disbelief that Mr. Li was the man she had met 5 years ago. She expressed her hatred for Mr. Li. He offered to compensate her, promising to fulfill any requirement she had. She questioned whether he could compensate for the time she had lost and warned him not to appear before her again, threatening to beat him if he did. Mr. Li insisted that Bao was his son and should return to him. She paused and asked for clarification. Mr. Li clarified that Bao's surname was Li. She declared it impossible, stating that Bao was her son and she would not give him to anyone. Mr. Li argued that he could provide Bao with a better life, questioning Xi's ability to care for him due to her lack of fame and money in showbiz. Xi asserted that her privacy should be respected. Mr. Li insisted on knowing the kind of woman his son's mother was. Xi, addressing Mr. Li by his full name, Li Painan, warned him not to think about taking Bao away from her. Mr. Li suggested a solution if she did not want to leave Bao. He proposed marriage to her. Mr. Li suggested that since she was unwilling to relinquish custody of his son and considering that Bao had taken a liking to her, it would be best for his son to grow up in a complete family. Hence, he proposed marriage as the solution. However, she, in a state of anger, firmly declined, stating she would not marry him. Mr. Li clarified that it was to be a contractual marriage, where she wouldn't have to fulfill the duties typical of a legal couple, but simply care for Bao. This led Xi to ponder over the nature of a contractual marriage, suspecting it wasn't a temporary decision but rather a trap he had set with a prepared agreement. She agreed to his proposal on the condition that their relationship remain a secret and that he not interfere with her private life. Mr. Li gave his word and urged her to sign the agreement if there were no further issues. He mused to himself that most women would jump at such an opportunity and would want to make it public, yet Xi was exceptional in her desire to keep it confidential. Xi considered the reputation of Mr. Li's firm, Li's Group, known for its international fame and wealth, and its boss, Li Painan, known for being aloof and cold-blooded. She felt she was no match for him, but reasoned that agreeing to the marriage would at least allow her to live with Bao. Mr. Lin then informed her that she could live there from that point on and mentioned he would be away on a business trip for a week, advising her to communicate any needs to his housekeeper. At Lin Zhi's residence, she reflected on how the man had intruded into her life and disrupted her plans. Despite this, she noticed Bao's happiness in his presence and his longing for paternal affection. With a sigh, she conceded that for Bao's sake, she had to accept the man. When she opened the door, Lin Shen, surprised to see her return alone, inquired about Bao's whereabouts. Xi, with a serious demeanor, expressed her desire to share something important. Shen, sensing the gravity of the situation, asked her to elaborate. Xi revealed that the man had found her in Bao, and seeing Bao's attachment to him, she had agreed to live with the man for the time being, with the understanding that they would divorce once Bao reached adulthood. Shen reacted with disapproval, labeling the man as irresponsible for having abandoned them and cautioning Zhi against trusting him. Zhi, feeling cornered, explained that she had no other choice as the man was Li Peinan, and refusing him would mean losing Bao forever. Shen inquired if she had made up her mind to live there, expressing his intention to become strong enough to protect her and Bao in a couple of years, ensuring that no one would bully them. Zhi confirmed her decision, urging Shen to concentrate on his studies abroad and assuring him that she and Bao would wait for his return. She promised to take care of Bao and herself. Bao, excited to see his mother, exclaimed that his fairy was here and expressed how much he missed her, asking if her luggage was heavy and if she was tired. She affectionately responded that she missed him too. Zhi contemplated her role as the stand-in for the leading role in a film, deciding to memorize the leading role's lines even though she might not have any lines herself. Suddenly her phone rang, and upon answering, she recognized it was Mr. Hua on the line. He reminded her to arrive at the location by 9 o'clock a.m. and not to make any mistakes again. She assured him that she would not mess up. Bao greeted his mother with a cheerful good morning and informed her that he was going to school. Shadai greeted him back, complimenting him on looking cute that day. Bao mentioned to Zhi that Uncle Shen had told him girls like cute boys, which led him to conclude that girls would like him as well. She'd agreed, acknowledging his logic. She then mused about the number of girls who might become smitten with her little boy. The servant reminded her that it was time for the young master to go to school, to which Zhi advised Bao to listen to his teachers. Bao, in turn, told his mother to heed the director's instructions at the filming location. A girl with purple hair taunted Zhi, recalling her previous arrogance and now her role as a stand-in, asking if she had any comments. Zhi responded confidently, stating that whether she was in a leading role or a stand-in, it was all part of her job, questioning why the girl thought she had descended. The girl with purple hair suggested that Zhi should keep a low profile, which prompted Hua to reprimand her, telling Wang Qingqing to watch her language. Qingqing internally decided not to argue with Zhi that day, but vowed to herself that she would get Zhi kicked out. At that moment, someone called out for Zhi, and she promptly responded to the summons. Zhi contemplated the character she was to portray in the film, the general's daughter, which required her to perform numerous action scenes. In one particular scene, her task was simply to mount a horse and jump down. She knew the scene demanded a smooth and impressive performance, a challenge that many actresses might struggle with. She reminded herself that she'd had to execute it flawlessly. As Zhi mounted the horse, she thought about how fortunate she was to have learned horsemanship while living abroad, a skill that was proving useful now. However, things took an unexpected turn when the horse became agitated and Zhi was thrown to the ground, face first. A girl witnessing the incident commented on Zhi's fall from the horse. The director was alerted and a boy rushed over, concerned, asking what had happened and if Zhi was all right. Qingqing, observing the scene, thought to herself that Zhi was too naive to be considered a rival. The boy asked Zhi if she was okay, to which she replied affirmatively. The director, concerned for her well-being, inquired if she was injured and if she could continue working. Zhi, despite feeling pain in her ankle, insisted she was fine and ready to resume work. Internally, she acknowledged that although she had managed to protect her vital parts, she had still sprained her ankle. The director instructed the crew to bring a more docile horse for Zhi. A girl warned Zhi that the horse was new and advised her to be cautious. Zhi reassured her that everything was fine. Approaching the horse, Zhi spoke gently, promising not to harm it and suggesting that they should get acquainted with each other first. After preparing herself, she informed the director that she was ready. Upon the director's cue, she mounted the horse and, despite the pain from her previous fall, was determined to complete the scene. A boy observed that even though Zhi was injured, she managed to perform the scene perfectly, which he found impressive. The director commended her work, encouraging her to keep it up. After dismounting the horse, Zhi wondered about the reason behind the previous horse's fright and considered checking on it. The director praised Zhi for her excellent execution of the action scene and told her she could take a break. Zhi expressed her gratitude. Meanwhile, Qingqing thought to herself in frustration about Zhi's resilience and resolved to have her removed from the theatrical group as soon as possible. Upon returning home late at night, she found herself pondering over whether Bao was asleep, considering Mr. Li Peinan was not at home and her late arrival might have saddened him. As she noticed the pain and swelling in her foot, she thought about getting some ice cubes to alleviate the discomfort. Ascending the stairs, she was startled by an unexpected sight, leading her to believe there was a thief in the house. To her surprise, she discovered it was Mr. Li and questioned his presence since he was supposed to be away on a business trip for a week. Mr. Li, settling on the sofa, simply stated that his work was done. His attention then turned to Zhi's left foot, inquiring about its condition. to which she downplayed the injury as a mere sprain. She suggested that he must be tired and should rest, but Mr. Lee commented on her smile, implying it seemed forced. She internally defended her smile, considering it perfect due to her professional training, yet Mr. Lee seemed to dislike it, even thinking to himself that her smile appeared reluctant. The conversation took a turn when Mr. Lee mentioned that the vase Zhi had broken was a valuable artifact from the Tang dynasty, worth 5 million yuan. Leaving Zhi in shock, she attempted to brush it off as a joke, but Mr. Lee assured her he was not joking, which only intensified her fear, especially considering the vase's placement next to the stairs. In an exchange marked by tension and disbelief, Mr. Lee informed Zhi that he had placed his vase next to the stairs in his house, questioning if there was any issue with that. Zhi, taken aback, hesitantly assured him there was no problem. However, Mr. Lee's next command was abrupt and dismissive. He instructed her to throw the vase out. She was shocked, her voice trembling as she questioned the absurdity of throwing out something as valuable as 5 million yuan. She confronted Mr. Lee about his previous claim of the vase's worth, expressing her frustration and sense of betrayal. Mr. Lee responded with a scoff, revealing his motive for disclosing the vase's value was to prevent her from accidentally breaking another expensive item in his house. As he walked away, he pondered over Zhi's apparent unawareness of the significance of his family's name. Meanwhile, she, reflecting on Mr. Lee's unpredictable nature, decided to gather the vase's fragments, the thought of its value causing her heart touch. Suddenly, she cried out in pain from an injury and contemplated applying ice to prevent swelling. She lamented the effort she had put into securing the film roll, which she now had to relinquish. Observing from above, Mr. Lee noted Zhi's sprained ankle and her need to work the following day, admitting to himself that she looked quite pretty in her silence. The next morning, Bao, upon seeing Mr. Lee, excitedly greeted his father with a good morning. Zhi brought in breakfast, and Bao humorously remarked on his mother's honey returning. Zhi, however, thought to herself with a mix of humor and disdain that she would prefer to remain single forever than be with a man like Mr. Lee. Bao inquired excitedly about his father's return, to which Mr. Lee responded that he had come back the previous night. Bao expressed regret for having gone to bed early, missing the chance to wait up for his father. Mr. Lee assured him that he would inform him ahead of time on his next return. Bao's joy was evident when he heard this promise. Zhi then reminded Bao that it was time for breakfast and that he needed to eat quickly to avoid being late for school. Bao invited his father to join them for breakfast and questioned where his father's breakfast was. Zhi, caught off guard, wondered how she was supposed to know since she hadn't prepared it. Nevertheless, she offered her own noodles to Mr. Lee, internally considering it a compensation for the 5 million yuan. Bao encouraged his father to try the noodles, confident that he would be impressed by his mother's cooking. Zhi, however, was left contemplating whether she was raising an oblivious child, as she would now have to go without breakfast herself. After telling Bao to continue eating, she announced she was leaving for work. Before departing, Zhi gave Bao a goodbye kiss and reminded him to behave well at school. As she was about to leave, Bao pointed out that she hadn't given his father a goodbye kiss. She pondered the idea of giving a goodbye kiss, but quickly dismissed it, concerned for her own well-being. She then voiced her opinion that such gestures were not customary among adults. Bao, her son, innocently pointed out that she had given his godfather a goodbye kiss, which led to Mr. Lee, who was listening, to wonder about Zhi's past relationships. Zhi, trying to keep the morning routine on track, urged Bao not to talk too much during breakfast and reminded him of the school day ahead. As she was about to leave, Bao wished her well, prompting Mr. Lee to question him about his godfather. Bao's playful response about having more than one godfather left Mr. Lee feeling underestimated and agitated as he realized Zhi might have had multiple partners. Bao, noticing Mr. Lee's rising anger, asked if he was all right, to which Mr. Lee abruptly decided it was time for school. Bao internally acknowledged Mr. Lee's jealousy and resolved to endure it for his mother's happiness. The director expressed his frustration and decided to terminate the contract, citing his intolerance for the leading actress, Song Yanran, any longer. Hua attempted to pacify director Wang, mentioning Yanran's busy schedule as a possible reason for her absence. Zhi, curious about the director's anger, inquired about it, and learned from another actress that Yanran's lack of presence, except for the boot ceremony, had caused the rest of the cast to face criticism. Director Wang then called Zhi over and, upon confirming that she knew the script, unexpectedly instructed her to take over the lead role. Zhi, taken aback, questioned if she was indeed the one chosen to act, to which Wang affirmed, declaring her the new heroine of the movie. Hua interjected, reminding the director of the existing contract with Yanran as the lead. However, director Wang dismissed the concern, stating that Yanran's busy schedule meant she need not return, and urged Zhi to prepare for the role. while pleaded with director Wang to postpone the scenes requiring Yanran, emphasizing her popularity and busy schedule. He relayed that the movie producer had suggested shooting the stand-in parts first and saving the main scenes for Yanran's return. However, director Wang was adamant about starting the shoot immediately. Zhi, seizing the opportunity, assured the director of her readiness. The director called for attention and commenced filming. After completing the first scene, Zhi wondered about her performance but decided to rest before seeking feedback. Director Wang, impressed, complimented Zhi on her professional performance, acknowledging her training. Meanwhile, King arrived on set, visibly upset upon realizing that Zhi had assumed the leading role. She confronted Zhi, advising her to maintain a low profile and questioning her audacity in taking over Yanran's role. Zhi defended herself against King's accusation of stealing the role, pointing out that she was following director Wang's instructions. King dismissed the director's words as mere anger, ridiculing Zhi for being delusional about becoming the heroine. Zhi challenged King's assumption about her insignificance, which left King flustered and questioning Zhi's confidence. Internally, King speculated if she had a secret benefactor. She warned King against any further sabotage, hinting at a past incident where she found needles in her saddle, which could implicate someone if investigated. King denied any wrongdoing, but Zhi's revelation about the needles and fingerprints suggested she had evidence of foul play that could involve the police. In a heated exchange, King vehemently denied understanding Zhi's accusations and declared that conversing with her was a waste of time. Zhi, reflecting on the confrontation, concluded that King's anger might be an admission of guilt regarding the needles found in the saddle. Later that night, as Zhi was heading home, director Wang offered her a ride, concerned about her agent's absence. Zhi declined, citing proximity to her home and the desire to keep her living arrangements with Li Peng in private. Upon arriving home, she found Bao asleep, toy in hand, which led her to contemplate Li Peng's suggestion that Bao needed a father figure. As she moved the toy, Bao, half asleep, expressed a wish for his mother to show the same affection to his father as she did to him. She reflected on the need for a father figure in her son's life and wondered about his dreams. After giving Bao a goodnight kiss, she stepped outside where Mr. Li confronted her about her late return. Startled by his sudden appearance, Zhi exclaimed in surprise. Mr. Li, questioning whether he was frightening her, received a response from Zhi explaining her alarm at his unexpected presence. He then repeated his inquiry about her late arrival, indicating his concern for her well-being. She expressed her frustration about the long hours at work, which often left her without a taxi to get home. Mr. Li seemed surprised that she didn't own a car, to which she responded with a hint of sarcasm about our company's policy of not providing cars to employees they considered unimportant. The conversation then shifted to Bao, who had mentioned that Mr. Li's car resembled one that his uncle, Lin Zhi, had rented. Zhi clarified that Lin Zhi had only rented the car to please Bao, who liked that particular model and had falsely claimed ownership of it. She mused to herself that if she could afford such a luxury, she wouldn't have to work so hard. Mr. Li advised her to return home early and to inform Bao if she was going to be late, mentioning that Bao had been waiting for her. Zhi replied that she had already texted Bao, which led Mr. Li to question why he wasn't informed as well. She playfully retorted that there was no need to inform someone who wouldn't wait for her, prompting Mr. Li to grab her hand and challenge her assumption. He internally questioned why he would stay up if he wasn't waiting for her, calling her a stupid woman in his thoughts. She'd wondered if Mr. Li was upset because she came home late and realized that her contract had a clause that required her to work late hours, leading her to consider purchasing a car as a practical solution to her transportation issues. The next morning, King announced Lin Zhi's arrival with a hint of mockery, warning her not to overestimate herself as she would be embarrassed now that Song Yanran had returned, would likely replace her in the theatrical group. She, confused, asked what King was talking about. King explained that Song Yanran and the producer had arrived early that morning, implying that Zhi's temporary position as the heroine was about to end. The producer then addressed everyone, stating that although Yanran had delayed the work for some reasons, she was now back, and he hoped everyone would concentrate on completing the movie as planned. Yanran apologized for the delay and offered to treat everyone to afternoon tea for a month as compensation. A lady in the group reassured Yanran that it was okay since they had been filming the supporting role scenes, so her absence hadn't caused any delays. King praised Yanran for living up to her reputation in showbiz, and another lady commented on how humble and sincere Yanran was for apologizing without any pretense. Director Wang instructed everyone not to just stand around and alerted them that the shooting would commence in 15 minutes. A person reassured Yanran that it was fine to be there and mentioned that while Director Wang is strict, he doesn't mean any harm, so she shouldn't take his words to heart. The person then excused themselves to return to the firm. advising Yanran to take care on the road. Zhi, observing Yanran, thought to herself that Yanran appeared even more beautiful in person than on television. Director Wang asked Zhi if she had written the notes herself, to which Zhi, smiling, confirmed that she did write notes when reciting her lines as it helped her understand her role better. Wang acknowledged her perceptiveness but informed her that since Song Yanran had returned, Zhi could no longer be the heroine of the movie. However, he reassured her that he had another role for her, which, although not as prominent as the heroine's, was certainly a step up from being a stand-in. Zhi expressed her gratitude to director Wang, who then questioned if she was dissatisfied. Wang thought to himself that despite experiencing a rise and fall, Zhi didn't seem unhappy at all, noting that no experienced actor could remain as calm as she did, especially since she was just a newcomer. Zhi responded that there was no reason for dissatisfaction. After all, she had progressed from a stand-in to a supporting role. Director Wang reflected on the newcomer's suitability for the entertainment industry, believing that with hard work, she'd had a bright future ahead. He then informed Zhi that he had secured a supporting role for her, which he felt was fitting. He emphasized that if she could grasp the essence of the supporting role, it would leave a lasting impression on the audience. When Zhi inquired about the specific role, Wang revealed it was Manhwa. He gave her 3 days to study the role, expressing his hope that she would embody the true character of Manhwa. Zhi contemplated the character of Manhwa, a girl who, despite her impoverished background and the loss of her family in battle, carried an air of arrogance due to the emperor's favor. She would fall in love with the hero at first sight and become obsessed with him, but her mistakes would lead to her demise in an unfamiliar place. She realized the complexity of playing a villainous role, understanding that it could either bring her disdain or acclaim from the audience. Meanwhile, a lady informed Mr. Li that the procedures for purchasing a car were complete and inquired whether he would drive it back himself or have his driver do it. To her surprise, Mr. Li instructed her to give the car to Lin Zhi. The lady, taken aback, questioned his decision, but Mr. Li asked if she had any complaints. Assuring him she had none, she agreed to have the car delivered to Zhi. The lady pondered whether to inform Mr. Li that Lin Zhi was currently in trouble, considering the car was initially thought to be for the young master, but turned out to be a gift for Zhi. Mr. Li, seemingly unaware of the situation, prompted the lady to proceed with the task. The lady approached Mr. Li with a concern, reporting that she had heard Ms. Lin Zhi was facing difficulties. She explained that the renowned actress Song Yanran had taken away Zhi's chance to be the heroine through nepotism. The lady questioned Mr. Li about their course of action, considering he was planning to gift Zhi an expensive car, which suggested he wouldn't tolerate any mistreatment towards her. Mr. Li's response was unexpectedly indifferent. He simply said to do nothing. This reaction puzzled the lady as it was contrary to what she had anticipated. She easily asked if she should at least communicate something to the theatrical group, to which Mr. Li again responded with a firm no. The lady acquiesced, but internally she was baffled by Mr. Li's apparent disregard for Zhi's situation, especially given his intention to present her with an expensive car. She found Mr. Li's behavior enigmatic and unpredictable. Yanran acknowledged Lin Zhi, thanking her for covering as a stand-in during her absence. She humbly accepted the gratitude, stating it was part of her job. Yanran then mentioned that Zhi was fortunate as director Wang had taken a liking to her and offered her a new role, encouraging her to continue working hard and to reach out if she needed any assistance. Hua entered the conversation, questioning Yanran's friendliness towards Zhi, whom he dismissed as merely a stand-in. Yanran defended her actions, explaining that director Wang held Zhi in high regard and it was only appropriate for her to greet Zhi personally. Hua persisted in his disdain, claiming Zhi was a nobody and not even fit to be Yanran's servant. Yanran chided him for being mean and cautioned that such remarks could be misconstrued by reporters as marginalizing a colleague. As they conversed, a luxurious car arrived, drawing exclamations from onlookers about its opulence and speculations that it belonged to Yanran. A boy assumed it was Yanran's, while a girl agreed, saying only Yanran could match such a car. Zhi, observing the scene, thought the car must be exorbitantly priced and that Yanran must have earned a substantial amount of money. The crowd was puzzled when the car stopped in front of Zhi, leading her to wonder about Yanran's intentions. Yanran approached the gathering, curious about the commotion, and a girl asked if the car was hers. A person then stepped out of the car and invited Ms. Lin to get in, shocking the onlookers who realized the car was for Zhi. Yanran was left bewildered, questioning how Zhi could afford such a luxury which was beyond even her own means. Zhi questioned the bodyguard's presence, wondering if there had been a mistake, but the bodyguard confirmed her identity and explained that Mr. Lai had sent him to beat her driver. She speculated that her brother might have arranged for the car, but the bodyguard clarified that it was Mr. Li's order. Puzzled, Zhi thought about why Mr. Li, possibly Li Peinan, would provide her with a car and a driver. as onlookers speculated about the situation, with one girl suggesting that the man might be asking for directions. Zhi felt the attention drawn by the car was causing her trouble. The driver urged her to get into the car, mentioning that her son was waiting at home and that she could inquire directly with Mr. Li about the reason for the car. Zhi hesitated, fearing that accepting the car would end her peaceful days. The driver inquired if she was dissatisfied with the car or with him, to which she denied both, despite her internal reservations. Eventually, Zhi got into the car, thinking to herself that both the driver and Mr. Lei were stubborn. As Lin Zhi was seated in the car, a girl expressed her shock, questioning how Zhi, a newcomer, could afford such a luxurious vehicle. Another girl speculated that Zhi might come from a wealthy family or have a powerful supporter. A third girl wondered aloud who this mysterious benefactor could be. Yanren, speaking to Hua, demanded to know who was backing Lin Zhi. Hua confirmed her request, while Yanren internally acknowledged that she had underestimated Zhi, realizing that Zhi was not as insignificant as she had initially thought and that she should not be taken lightly. Upon their arrival at the villa, the driver opened the car door and announced their destination. Zhi stepped out of the car and thanked the driver, suggesting he could return and rest. She noted to herself that the driver addressed her as ma'am as soon as they reached the villa. Bao ran out from inside the villa, calling out to his mother. Zhi cautioned him to slow down to avoid falling, but Bao assured her he wouldn't. He then asked if she had called his father before coming home, to which Zhi replied in the negative. Bao pointed out that she and his father had almost arrived home simultaneously. As they entered the villa, Bao announced to his father that the little fairy was back. She asked Bao to go upstairs for a while because she wanted to speak with his father alone. Bao inquired if he could join them, but she explained that children should not eavesdrop on adult conversations. Bao protested, claiming he was not a 3-year-old anymore. Zhi acknowledged that he was 4 years old and asked him again to go upstairs. Bao complied, though he expressed his curiosity about why adults often divert children during their discussions, assuring that children wouldn't mock the adults. He then went upstairs, leaving Zhi and his father to have their private conversation. She sees Mr. Li, suggesting that he and Bao were alike and inquiring if he had been similar as a child. Mr. Li simply denied it. Zhi humorously questioned whether Bao was a mutant, given his eloquence, noting that she wasn't as articulate at his age. Mr. Li observed that Zhi and Bao were quite alike. When Zhi remembered to ask why he had bought a car for her, Mr. Li inquired if she didn't like it. She explained that the car was too lavish for her to accept, and that the attention it drew made her feel embarrassed. Mr. Li, puzzled, pointed out that as an actress, she shouldn't be shy of public attention. She found it challenging to communicate with someone so different from herself. Persisting, she reiterated that the car was excessively expensive for her to accept. Mr. Li clarified that he hadn't given her the car, but merely the right to use it, emphasizing the practicality of having a car, especially since she had come home late before and Bao had been waiting. Surprised, Zhi asked if the car was actually for Bao, to which Mr. Li affirmed. Zhi inwardly chided herself, realizing she had mistakenly thought the car was a gift for her, and felt she had been flattering herself with that assumption. Zhi, with a gesture of surrender, agreed to rent the car and assured that she would pay the rent punctually. Mr. Li, standing up, responded indifferently. Zhi thought to herself that the situation was embarrassing and that she needed to put it behind her. Bao, contemplating his plan, decided he wanted to bring his parents together for Valentine's Day. He suggested to his father that it was the perfect day for a love confession to his mother. Mr. Li dismissed the idea as unnecessary. Bao offered a cheesy pickup line for his father to use, which Mr. Li questioned for its lack of originality. As she entered, she thought of Bao and was taken aback when Mr. Li used the line on her, asking if he could follow her home. Her surprise prompted laughter from Bao. Mr. Li reflected on Lin Zhi's uniqueness among women, appreciating that despite raising his son alone for many years, she never used the child to ask for anything from him. Bao noticed his father staring blankly and pointed it out, but Mr. Li denied it, even though Bao observed that he had been fixated on the same page for quite some time. Mr. Li wondered internally why he should miss Lin Zhi, and Bao encouraged him not to be shy about admitting he missed her, assuring that he wouldn't mock him for it. Mr. Li claimed he was merely thinking about work. Bao advised his father that his approach to pursuing someone was ineffective, sharing that he was quite popular at school and knew a thing or two about attraction. He explained that spending time and making someone happy was more important than just buying gifts, as what a girl often wants most is a partner who is always there for her. Mr. Li questioned where Bao had learned such things, and Bao mentioned that an uncle had taught him, saying that pursuing someone is a philosophy. It's best to learn it early. Mr. Li, somewhat perturbed, thought about the many male friends Lin Zhi had, recalling that Bao had previously mentioned having godfathers and now an uncle, which left him feeling skeptical. Bao encouraged his father with enthusiasm, urging him to make every effort to win over his mother. Mr. Li felt the need to clarify a few things to Bao. Firstly, that Lin Zhi was already his wife and there was no need for pursuit. Secondly, the car was purchased for Bao's sake, not as a romantic gesture towards Lin Zhi. And thirdly, he warned Bao against eavesdropping on adult conversations, threatening to confiscate his toys if it happened again. Bao was taken aback by his father's stern words and resolved to be more tactful in the future, reminding himself that rushing things could lead to mistakes. Meanwhile, she arrived at work in the car and told the driver that there was no need for him to wait all day, as she would call in when she was ready to leave. The driver insisted on staying, stating it was his duty during working hours. Kinking approached Zhi with curiosity about the car, to which Zhi jokingly replied that she had a sugar daddy, asking if Kinking was envious. Kinking dismissed the idea, advising Zhi to keep a low profile to avoid embarrassment in the future. Before leaving the scene, Zhi took out a book from her bag, determined to ignore the inevitable criticisms and concentrate on her work. Meanwhile, Hua conveyed to Yanren his opinion that Zhi was extremely arrogant for claiming to have a sugar daddy, which he found disgraceful. Yanren inquired if Hua had gathered any information about Zhi, to which Hua replied that aside from her 5-year performance training abroad, there was nothing noteworthy, expressing surprise at her alleged connection with a sugar daddy upon her return. Yanren was curious about the identity of the person supporting Zhi, but Hua admitted he had yet to discover it. Director Wang introduced Lin Zhi to Mr. Philly, highlighting her role as Mu Nianli in the television series. Zhi greeted Mr. Philly, who complimented her suitability for the role and expressed his fondness for her portrayal. Zhi was taken aback, but Mr. Philly clarified that he was referring to her character, Mu Nianli, and playfully noted that their names matched well. She agreed, acknowledging the similarity in syllables between Mu Nianli and Mu Fili. Mr. Feli wondered if they had met before, as Zhi seemed familiar to him, but Zhi assured him that they had not, suggesting that he might recognize her from television. Meanwhile, Yanren entered the scene and playfully criticized Mr. Feli for his old-fashioned approach to speaking with a woman. Mr. Feli confidently replied that his method was still effective. Yanren teased him, suggesting that his fans would abandon him if reporters witnessed his flirtation, but Mr. Feli disagreed, believing it would only make them adore him more. Yanren complimented him, calling him a talented actor and a handsome man, which everyone appreciated. Mr. Feli corrected her, stating she got the order wrong, and insisted that it was his good looks and acting skills that made him likable. Yanren admitted her mistake about the sequence of his attributes, and Mr. Feli jokingly pardoned her error, attributing his forgiveness to her beauty.